Hari Om and good evening from Pittsburgh. If anyone is ever in an accident, they fall or there's a car accident, and suppose they suffer from some sort of memory loss, from amnesia, that becomes much more serious than if they break their arm or they damage a vein of some sort. When someone falls or there's a car accident, we ask them, do you know who you are? We don't ask them, do you still remember E = mc²? We don't ask them, do you know the capital of Nebraska? We ask them, do you know who you are? When we say, you know where you are, it's essentially saying, are you aware? Right now, we are experiencing divinity in the form of Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, awareness, joy. How? We feel existence is outside of us. The laptop, the desk, the clouds. Existence, it's not so ambiguous. We feel Chit, or awareness, is inside and outside. I know the clouds because I'm aware. I can dial my wife's number because I remember that, so I know my thoughts. But when it comes to Ananda or joy, this is to be felt inside, but we just don't know deeper aspects of us. So there is existence, there is some awareness, but hardly any joy. I'll show you another way to look at this. Feeling Sat, or existence, is only that, is an expression of tamas. It's so gross and obvious. I don't deny my own existence. To feel Chit, or awareness, there has to be more rajas there. There has to be more use to that awareness, to thinking. To feel Ananda, or joy, there has to be Sattva, quietude of mind, to bring cheerfulness in our personality. Who are you? You are divine. You are existence, awareness, joy. To take us deeper from just existence, to take us deeper from just tamas, we are taking up a course on Atma Bodha. And I've shared with you many times, it's not just Atma Bodha, it is really Ananda Bodha, science of joy. Last week, we studied Shloka 18, where Acharya Shankara shares that the senses and body are made up of materials, the Indriya and the Deha. And the materials I asked you to think about were cells. My eyes, which is a sense, it's made up of cells. My cheek is made up of, which is the body, is made up of cells. And Acharya Shankara also says that the manaha and the buddhihi, the mind and intellect, are also made up of materials. And here I didn't say they're made up of cells, I said they're made up of thoughts. Mind and intellect is made up of thoughts. And I'm trying to bring these together. You don't keep your cells when they come off your body, correct? Even if my own hair falls in my own pho. Suppose I go to eat pho after this. Pho, noodle soup. If my own hair falls in that, I feel that this is weird, but I still eat it. But if someone else's hair is in there, right, that's weird and I'm not interested in eating that. You don't keep your fallen hair, your fallen nails. Why do we keep our thoughts? Who told you that you're your thoughts? We should use our thoughts to know, the sutra is, I am illumination. I should use a thought of Aham Brahmasmi, I am divine. I am illumination. I have to use that thought. In Shloka 19, Acharya Shankara is sharing a similar message, and it's not his responsibility to make the message diverse. It is the same message. It is for us to see this from another perspective. He says that the indriyas, the senses, are ever engaged, vyapara. These indriyas, the senses, as well as the body and mind and intellect, is known as anatma. Anatma. They are only moving, working because of the Atma. Okay, so you have the Anatma, you have the Atma. These equipments are known as other. Atma is known as I. There's I and then there's other. These equipments are known as objects. It's an objective science to study kinesiology, psychology, etc. So they're an object, and I am the subject. Atma, I, subject. This is a subjective science. Acharya Shankara is asking us here to know the relationship between the user of the equipment and the equipment. We have a tendency to feel that which is closer, apparently closer, to be more real. That's why the example of the clouds moving seems like they're not moving and that the moon is moving. I feel like the body is closer to me than the spirit, so I think that the body's not moving. I don't realize I'm getting older. I think the spirit is moving when that's not true. I is a presence. And the sutra here was, perception is deception. If you depend on the equipments for knowledge, that knowledge is going to be faulty, like the sun rising and the sun setting. Does the sun rise and set? Today I'd asked some people, what time did you sleep? And if they give me a specific time, that means they're not sleeping, correct? If there's perception, you're not sleeping. That's a deceiving answer. You don't know what time you sleep. You actually don't know what time you wake up either. Only after you wake up, you recognize the time, correct? We continue to Shloka 20. In Shloka 18, we brought in the presence of a Raja. In Shloka 19, we brought in the presence of Shashi. Shashi means the moon. In verse 20, we bring in the presence of Surya, the sun. Please repeat after me. Atma chaitanyamashritya dehendriya manodiyaha swakriyarteshu vartante suryalokam yatha janaha. Before we chant together, in my book, Surya doesn't have a long A, but there should be a long A there. It's Surya Lokam. So if you have a long A, good. If you don't, then you can bring in a line to indicate that's a long A. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just smile. Okay? If you know what's going on, smile. If you don't know what's going on, you may as well smile also. See how practical Ananda Bodha is. Together, Atma chaitanyamashritya dehendriya manodiyaha swakriyarteshu vartante suryalokam yatha janaha. Acharya Shankara says, Atma chaitanya. The Atma, which is I, is the nature of chit, or awareness. And we'll just leave it there. Ashritya will go to the next line. The nature of Atma is chit. Atma means I, chit means awareness. And don't keep this intellectual. What's being shared here is your nature is Atma. You are I, and I is awareness, so you are awareness. Coming to the next quarter, Deha means body. Indriya is senses. Manaha, mind. Diyaha is another word for intellect. So it's the same description as previous verses. The body, senses, mind, and intellect. This is all anatma. If Atma is described in the first quarter, the second quarter is describing anatma. Atma is the subject, anatma is the object. Objects only have relevance in reference to a subject, correct? I believe in English, to form a proper sentence, you have to have a subject, correct? So the same goes with philosophy. The nature of anatma is jada. Jada means inert. This watch is inert. If I throw it over there and someone else catches it, this watch doesn't know. This table, this portal of communication, it's all inert. The body, mind, intellect is of the nature of anatma, so it's the nature of jada or inert. This body, this mind, this intellect is just material, just stuff. And ashritya, this body, mind, intellect depends on depends on awareness. What's brought up in the third quarter is swakriyarteshu vartante. With I being present, these equipments, swakriya, their own play, vartante, they're engaged in. With I being present, the mind thinks. With I being present, the blood flows. And I'll make this a little bit more relevant to us. How many of you grew up watching The Simpsons? Good for you. That's all I wanted to share about. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Rod and Todd, that's Flanders' kids, are in a golf tournament, a mini putting, and they're competing against Bart. Bart's in this tournament too, and Lisa's the coach, Bart's coach. And Bart is very distracted. So Lisa tries to encourage him to focus. So she tries to help him do this by giving him Zen koans. So one of the Zen koans is, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And you're supposed to reflect on that. So Bart goes easy and he starts clapping like this. And then another Zen koan that she asks is, if a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? So ask yourself that. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound? Does it? How many of you, if you say yes, put your hand up? No? Okay. See, with the Zen koan, there's not supposed to be an answer, but I know the answer. The answer is no. It does not make a sound. That's the whole point of the shloka, that if Chaitanya is not there, there's no tree and there's no expression of the tree falling. There is the need for Chaitanya, of awareness, which is Atma. Understand and appreciate that value comes from Chit. Without Chit, there is no value. And that's why in our scriptures, making this very practical, there's a saying that a child can never be as great as their parents. A child can never be as great as their parents. And don't look at it as how much money they make or how tall they are. Think about it in this way. If your parents weren't around, if they were never born, what about you? They are the cause, we are the effect. What a great message of humility, to always remember who gave you value. Same is being shared here. And now the example. I don't know if you're following the trend. In the fourth quarter, the example comes in. So teaching, example. And the example is, Surya Loka Yatha Janaha. Just like when the sun is shining on the world, people work. And without that sun shining on the world, people can't work. They don't know where they're going. They're cold. Straightforward example. I'll add an element here. Those who are in our Bhagavad Gita course, they would have heard this. It's not like they remember it, right? Class was 48 hours ago. So much has changed in 48 hours. In chapter 8 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, the people who follow the path of darkness go to darkness, and the people who follow the path of light go to light. Now, what is darkness and light? Darkness is people who live a life that's focused on valuables. That is pleasure, possession, position. If you're focused on how many people you can employ, that is the path of darkness. If you're focused on how many vacation days you will get in this sort of career, or how many days of school you can skip at this college, path of darkness. But if your focus is on, I should follow my responsibilities, that way I can be independently joyous, that's the path of light. That's the path of the sun. So here the example is when the sun is there, people can work. For us, the idea is that we should follow a life of values, not a life of valuables. Understood? You have to think a lot about each word for this to come to life. Here is your sutra. The sutra, this is the 20th sutra. And I hope you can appreciate that coming up with the sutra is the hardest part of teaching Atma Bodha. These are Sanskrit words, and I don't mean it in such a sarcastic way. It may have come across like that. And you can package the message together, but how do you come up with the sutra only in English too? In 5 words. That is tough. You should all appreciate me. That's why I teach this course. Here's your sutra. Be careful of the full. Be careful of the full. Full here means awareness. Full here means one's spirit. Be careful of that. Now, whenever we hear the word careful, it's always so negative, right? Be careful. There's ice on the ground. Be careful. This person is in the room. The way to understand being careful is to understand being careless. Carelessness is when you care less. A careless parent is because they don't care about their child, isn't it? I was having our snow tires changed yesterday, and I happened to read the newspaper, and it was such a sad article to hear about. I think the boy was 14 months old, and this parent just shook him and hit him, and he died. And it's because that parent just couldn't deal with what's required to be a parent. No, they cared more about themselves than that in that infant. And I don't mean to cause, sadness to everyone, but isn't it carelessness? They just don't care. But being careful is when you care fully. Yes? If I'm careful with, we're careful with our iPhone, sort of. You're careful with your iPhone, the new one, but the old ones, they crack. That's why we have cases, because we stopped caring about them. So here we should be careful of all of the value in our life comes from life. Okay? 21. Introducing this verse. When Sri Bharata comes to Chitrakuta to meet Bhagwan Rama, to tell him that he should return to Ayodhya, everyone in Ayodhya, including the Ranis, the queens. So quiz here. How many queens did Raja Dasharatha have? 3? 365. You have to study Ramayana to know that. Otherwise, Wikipedia says 3, correct? I learned all of Sanatana Dharma through Wikipedia. 365. All of the Ranis came. And every one of them missed Bhagwan Rama so much, they all wanted to be with Bhagwan Rama at once. So what did he do? He just made himself express in multiple forms, and he met each one of the people that wanted to meet them individually. So Mother Kaikeyi, Mother Kaushalya, Sri Bharata, etc. Now everyone also wanted to meet Mother Sita too. And so she too, she manifested many forms of her and met each person individually. How many Bhagwan Ramas and Mother Sitas are there? 1. But they manifest in different ways, just like life. There is only divinity, there is only Atma, It may appear to be different, but we have to see through that and feel that oneness. Please repeat after me. Dehendriya gunan karmani. Dehendriya gunan karmani. Amale satchidatmani. Adhyasyantya vivekena. Gagane nilatadivat. Dehendriya gunan karmani. Amale satchidatmani. Adhyasyantya vivekena. Gagane nilatadivat. Same words, no? Deha, body. Indriya, senses. Guna, which means their quality, and karma, which means their function. Okay? We're taking each part. The quality of my body and senses will determine how they function, correct? If my eyes are weak, then I won't be able to see as much. Straightforward. And I'll change the words too. Our purpose will direct our performance. If you're in this course and your purpose is joy, that's going to direct your performance to read ahead, to take notes, etc., 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 correct? But if your purpose in this course is just to sit beside someone you like in your class, then what are you going to be directed at? As they're studying sincerely, you keep looking at them and then reading too. Yeah, I'm studying sincerely also. And here an important word is introduced that is greatly misinterpreted, which is guna. Correct? What scripture have you read the word guna in? Lots, but which one is controversial? Srimad Bhagavad Gita's chapter 4, shloka 13, where Bhagavan Krishna says, your varna, what does varna mean? Don't say caste. How dare you say caste? Varna means color, does not mean caste. Your varna, or the color of your personality, is determined by your guna. Whether you're lazy, tamasic, aggressive, rajasic, quiet, sattvic, and based on that guna is your karma, what you do with your life, your profession, your schooling, your relationships. Is it based on your father's last name? Is it based on your blood? Is it based on your nationality? Can you only be enlightened if you're in the Atma Bodha course? For me, you should say yes, but you know that you don't need to study in this Atma Bodha course to be enlightened, correct? Guna determines your karma, whether it's at the sense and body level or the ego, intellect, mind level. Amale satchidatmani. Amale here means without mala, without impurity. At a high level, this means no vasanas. Remember what I said vasana means? It could mean odor, if it makes you a worse person, or it can mean fragrance, if it makes you a better person. Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, awareness, joy, which is I, Atman, it has no vasanas, neither odor nor fragrance. You can look at it in another way, that the self has no varna. There's no color to the self. So there's no varna, which means there's no guna, which means there's no karma. What is the self doing? Just being. Inspire, love, and be. The highest is not inspiration nor love. It is to be what is happening in the third quarter. Adhyasa is happening. Adi asa means when you're sitting close, when you're nearby, you assume that guna, that karma. In this case, it means you assume those limitations. When I am near the body, I start to think I am the body. When my awareness is near the mind, I start to think I'm the mind. What kind of person is like that? Aviveka. So not this guy. Only anyone who's not Vivek thinks like this. Right? That's why it's great to have the name Vivek, is that even if you don't think like that, fake it till you make it. At least I keep hearing the word Vivek a lot, so I can try to invoke this. I'm here at Carnegie Mellon University, and we're in a workshop on the game of positivity. And I was sharing with them that the most expectations we have of people is with our family, because we take them for granted. That's aviveka. To expect of our family is to not think about them as them, but it is to take them for granted. So don't think of just aviveka as, I think I'm the body, I think I'm the mind. At a much more surface level, it's taking people for granted, to have expectations for them. And now the example, gagane, which means in the sky, nila tadivat, like the sky being blue. When I don't think of the sky as being colorless, I think the sky is blue. I think water is blue. And Swami Chinmayananda in the writing, which you've just read, says that's being childish. He's not saying childlike. That's a compliment. He's saying full out, that's being childish. A Sanskrit word for humans is manava. Manava is only someone who's engaged in manyate. Manyate means to think, and if we're not thinking, we're not humans. It is an insult to humans. In this shloka, Acharya Shankara is saying these equipments are perishing. The equipments that these equipments use are also perishing, yet we want lasting happiness from them, isn't it? I'm perishing, what I eat is perishing, but I think I'm going to be happy forever. That's aviveka. That's being childish. Here is the sutra. Senses create sensations. Senses create sensations. All the senses can do is create sensations, like a pop sensation. What happens to those pop sensations in time? There used to be so many believers, now there's less and less and less believers, correct? Pop sensations go away. But if you have a rock band, they rock whether they're alive or not. You all know the example of that. So senses create sensations. Narayana.